any final thoughts before we get to the Mary question?
Um, just that, and I'll try to be brief about
No,
this,
take
but
your time.
I would just encourage people generally, thinking about my own situation and how I kind of came to where I am in life is that, we all have this, I think we're all kind of hardwired to cling to this real sort of binary thinking, us against them. There's only men and women, there's only, men and women get together and make babies and all this stuff and that's fine. And there's nothing wrong with people like that, obviously, but we need to kind of expand our thinking. It's not us against them. It's not, everything isn't binary. Things are uncertain, and as Kramer said on Seinfeld many years ago, Mother Nature is a mad scientist, right? And that's okay. But try to just let go of always viewing everything in black and white terms. That would be my piece of advice as an old, grizzled, gray-haired, whatever.
I think that is excellent advice, and I think it's well said. All right, so if you are one of David's friends who's listening to this podcast, or someone who's found me because of your connection to following David on social media, or hopefully a lot of his family and friends are like, oh yeah, you're on a podcast, let's listen. And you're still with us. I want to say thank you for listening. I end every podcast with this question. Jay Armstrong, who is a recently retired English teacher from the Philadelphia area, he has a book out, Bedtime Stories for the Living. And when he was teaching, he would spend 2 days in his honors English class, their senior year, breaking apart Thunder Road. They would look at all the lyrics. They would talk about the imagery that Bruce is using. He would compare it to Robert Frost, The Road Not Taken, and other poems. And at the end of the 2 days, he would ask the class, does Mary get in the car? David, that is your question.
Yes.
Does Mary get in the car at the end of Thunder Road?
So my answer is yes. And,
Okay.
and I'll tell you why. I don't know that I necessarily had a conclusion about that until the first time I heard the song The Rising on the radio.
Okay.
And he's talking, and Mary has wound her way through many songs and many different iterations, right? Mary, Queen of Arkansas. Obviously, it's Mary's Place, on the album The Rising. But when I heard the verse that begins, I see Mary in the garden of 1,000 sighs, she's holding pictures of our children. The first thing that I thought about was, that's Mary from Thunder Road.
Oh.
The guy ends up becoming a New York City firefighter. They settled down, they kind of grew up. And so, I mean, obviously Mary could also be the Mary from the song, The River. But,
yes.
But to me, that kind of just, and this is, I'm sure this is insane. I'm sure this is like, either everyone has thought of this or everyone's going to think I'm nuts. But to me, that brings it full circle. The kid who was, he can play this here guitar, and all that, he finds a calling eventually, right? And that's to be a firefighter and to be a first responder, to save lives. And now it's at the end of his life, and he's going up the stairs, and he knows that he's not coming out of that building, and he's dreaming or daydreaming about, Mary and their family. So I think it's the same couple.
Okay.
That's my theory.
I like that theory. No one has shared that with me. I have been shared that she's not named, but when in Racing in the Street, he says, my baby sits on the porch of her daddy, on her daddy's porch.
What a song.
He says that's the porch that she dances across.
Yeah.
It's the
that
same
could
porch.
well be. Right.
And I went, I've never thought of that. My other one, there's been a lot of great answers, but another one said yes, that Moonlight Motel is the sequel, that they got in the car, drove all the way to California, and Mary has now died, and he's mourning her death at the Moonlight Motel.
Right. Well,
so,
that's definitely a possibility.
Yes, it is. David, this has been great.
Well,
I
thank you.
knew after listening to your podcast, and we exchanged a few emails. I knew that we would have a great time talking, and I am sorry I kept you up late,
It's
but
okay. We're both on the same
yeah,
time zone.
yes, it is. So I really, really appreciate you spending time with me. Um, Tell us how to find you on social media.
My Twitter, and I will confess up front, I don't always behave on Twitter.
That's okay.
My Twitter is Dave from TR and the number one, all run
Okay.
together. And that's my main Twitter account. Yeah.
Well, listeners, you please go get vaccinated, go get boosted.
Yeah.
Remember to keep being safe, and let's be kind to one another, because that's really the only way we're going to get through this.
Amen.
David, thank you for your time.
You're
Listeners,
more than
thank you for
welcome.
listening. We'll talk to you soon. Goodbye. Hello, everyone. I am Jesse Jackson, and I hope you enjoyed this small clip from one of my Set Listing Bruce episodes. I'm always looking for feedback and, more importantly, guests. If you want to share your Springsteen fandom story and answer the Mary question, post below on the comments or send me an email to setlistingbruce@gmail.com. If you're passionate about other musicians or topics, I'm always up to record a B-side episode where we get off the Bruce train and dive into other topics. For now, stay hard, stay hungry, stay alive. Meet me in a dream of this hard land, and I'll see you further on up the road.